Welcome back in. Today we're going to be discussing 6 of my must-draft tight ends for 2024. Let's go ahead and get right into it. We're going to start things off with my guy Trey McBride. I'm actually surprised his ADP isn't much closer to guys like Sam Laporta and Travis Kelsey, but last year Trey McBride was phenomenal last year. 81 catches, 825 yards, and 3 touchdowns, 10.7 fantasy points per game. But over his final 10 games, he was actually the tight end 3. He checks every single box that we were looking for. Last year, second in yards per route run, sixth in yards per team pass attempt, sixth in deep targets, 11th in red zone targets last season. He was sixth among all tight ends in targets. Obviously, this offense is going to be a little bit different this year with the addition of Marvin Harrison Jr. as a top 5 pick in the draft. And then they also signed Zay Jones. But you have to remember, over half the season last year, Kyler Murray didn't play. He was also coming off a pretty significant injury. And so now, with Kyler Murray a year removed from that and, really, trending in the right direction, Kyler Murray can definitely support 2 pass catchers here in Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride. I think Trey McBride easily clears a 20% target share this year. And I think he can push as the tight end 1. I think that's definitely in the range of his outcomes. I like this offense. I like this offense's direction. I love Kyler Murray as well as an option here. So I am buying this Arizona Cardinals offense this year. Trey McBride, I think, is actually a little bit of a value right now at current cost. So definitely should be going much closer to a Travis Kelsey and Sam Laporta range than he is. So let's keep it moving here. Let's move on to the next guy, and that is a player who I think could have his second year breakout, and that is Dalton Kincaid, who's going just after Trey McBride at tight end 5, 52nd overall. Last year had a 17.7% target share, 82% route participation. He had 73 catches, 673 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 9.4 fantasy points per game. Now, in this offense, we have 240 targets vacated from last year with Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis, both moving on over this offseason. All they did was really bring in Curtis Samuel and drafted Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman, I'm still kind of mixed feelings. He is getting a lot of really solid, reviews right now out of camp, but we'll see on that. But still, I still think it's a pretty clear runway for Dalton Kincaid to be the number 1 target earner in this offense this year with Josh Allen. Now, I do think they'll be a little bit more run heavy this year. It's kind of something they've talked about with Joe Brady. But I still think there's more than enough targets here. I think 120 plus targets for. So I definitely think that Dalton Kincaid has that upside. I think he also has that tight end 1 upside. I think, especially in his range of outcomes. So Dalton Kincaid is another easy click for me at current cost. Next up, you have somebody that I know a lot of people are going to have some pushback on because he just kind of hasn't really met expectations. And maybe the expectations were a little bit too high considering the quarterback that this man played with, and that is Kyle Pitts, tight end 6th, 60th overall. Last year, he had 53 catches, 667 receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns. He was still the tight end 12 on the season. He was 8th in routes run, 1st in market share of air yards, 1st in deep targets. He was 34th in red zone targets with only 5. Now, this was a very gross offense last year with Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke, Arthur Smith not really knowing what the hell he was doing. But still, I still think Kyle Pitts that is still that guy that we were super excited to draft a couple of years ago because of his athletic ability, because of his pedigree. And now they finally have a quarterback in place with Kirk Cousins. And if something were to happen to Kirk Cousins, they do have Michael Penix, who they use a top 8 pick on in this past year's draft as well. So there's at least another option behind him if something were to happen to Kirk Cousins. But Kirk Cousins can easily some pass catchers here. We've seen him do it before with Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson. So I think Kyle Pitts is set up to be a monster breakout year this year. And again, another player that has tight end 1 upside. I think all 3 of these tight ends, McBride, Kincaid, and Kyle Pitts, all have that in the range of outcomes in their bag. And so I would much rather, instead of drafting Sam Laporta and Travis Kelsey at their current cost, I would much rather draft one of these 3 tight ends. Now, Trey McBride is definitely probably at the top for me, and then it is Kincaid, and then it's Kyle Pitts. But all 3 of these guys, I think, could be top 5 tight ends this year. So love all 3 of these guys. Let's keep it moving, and let's talk about another name that doesn't really get much buzz. He's not as sexy of a name, but that's Jake Ferguson from the Dallas Cowboys. He sets up to be the number 2 target earner in this offense behind CeeDee Lamb. Nothing has changed. They didn't do anything this over the offseason, but he had 71 catches, 761 receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns last year. He had 10.4 fantasy points per game. We had a 13.0 expected fantasy points, which would have put him at tight end 7. He finished at tight end 9 last year, but he was first in red zone targets, and I don't think that's going to change. I think he's going to be Dak Prescott's safety valve once we get inside the red zone and get near the goal line. he is going to see a lot of red zone opportunities. He was also 11th in deep targets, but he was also very good with the ball in his hands, 6th in yards after the catch last year. So I think there's a lot to like here with Jake Ferguson. So if you're wanting to wait on a tight end here, and I think Jake Ferguson is definitely the name at tight end 10, 85th overall that you should definitely be looking at this year because I think he is going to finish as a top 8 tight end this year. So now the next two guys are going significantly later, but definitely they should be on your radar this year, especially if whoever your tight end doesn't work out, injury, whatever. Ben Sinnott is definitely the number one guy that I'm looking at. He's a rookie tight end. He was drafted 21st overall in the second round. Right now, his current ADP is tight end 19, 182nd overall, but he is a very good athlete. Came from Kansas State, 49 catches, 676 receiving yards, and 6 touchdowns. His really only target competition is Zach Ertz. I don't know what Zach Ertz's deal is with blocking young tight ends. He did it with Dallas Goddard. He did it with Trey McBride, and now he's doing it with Ben Sinnott. But still, Ben Sinnott is a very good late round option. Maybe not something you need to draft necessarily unless you're in like a tight end premium league or something like that. But he's definitely going to be a name that I think once we get to waivers and stuff like that as the season starts to progress, Ben Sinnott is definitely going to be a name that you're going to want to keep on your radar because if whatever tight end, if you wait to draft a tight end and that tight end doesn't work out, Ben Sinnott should definitely be on your radar. And maybe even if you have a big enough bench, a bench stash. Lastly, Jelani Woods. I have drafted so much Jelani Woods this offseason through Best Ball, through the SFB, Scott Fishbowl. I have taken a ton of Jelani Woods. I think I have almost nearly 100% of Jelani Woods because those are really deep rosters, but he is an athletic freak. He checks every single box in terms of athleticism. 94th percentile speed score, 95th percentile burst score, and an 85th percentile agility score does Jelani Woods. Now, he missed all of 2023 due to a hamstring injury, but his rookie year, he had 25 catches on 40 targets for 312 yards and 3 touchdowns. But in the games that he played, over 60% of the snaps and he averaged over 10 PPR points. He also ranked 14th in yards per route run, 8th in yards per reception, and 13th in fantasy points per route run. So Jelani Woods has been getting a lot of buzz out of camp and through OTAs. He was somebody that they were expecting big things out of last year, but he got hurt. But Jelani Woods is definitely another name that I will be keeping an eye on. And again, if you miss out on your tight end doesn't work out, Jelani Woods is definitely going to be a name that I think we're going to be hearing a lot this year, as long as he can stay healthy this year. So those are the 6 guys. Now, a couple of honorable mentions. I think Luke Musgrave's tight end 17 right now. I kind of go back and forth on adding him to this list, but there is a lot of target competition with all the wide receivers they have there. They also have Tucker Kraft. He kind of flashed last year, and somebody that has a lot of athleticism himself. Missed 5 games last year due to lacerated kidney. Luke Musgraves is certainly somebody you should keep an eye on. He has been getting a lot of buzz in camp as well, and another player that I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up finishing as a top 12 tight end this year. The last two, Mike Gesicki, kind of a veteran, been around for a while, kind of fell off because he went to New England. Offense was terrible, but now he's in Cincinnati, and he could really carve himself out a decent little role here. Maybe see 4 to 5 targets per game, and that could be enough, especially as a streaming option. But those top 6 are my guys. Let me know in the comment section below. Are you going to draft somebody like Sam Laporta or a Travis Kelce at their current cost? Or are you going to wait a little bit and take a Trey McBride, a Mark Andrews, a Kyle Pitts, or Dalton Kincaid? Let me know in the comment section below. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.